I want you to understand something before you hear this story. I am not telling it to impress you. I am not telling it to scare you for the sake of entertainment. And I am not telling it because I still enjoy revisiting it. I'm telling it because some experiences don't loosen their grip just because time passes. They sit with you, they age with you. They become quieter, more refined, but heavier in meaning. This is one of those experiences. For most of my life, I believed reality followed rules, firm ones, predictable ones. Time moved forward, cause came before effect. Footprints appeared after you walked, not before. If you trained hard enough, planned carefully enough, and trusted your team, you could navigate almost anything. That belief served me well through years of military service, through mountains and deserts and places that don't show up on postcards. It helped me sleep. It helped me make decisions. It helped me send people home alive. Then, in October of 2003, in a quiet sector of the Colorado Rockies marked only by a grid square and a letter number designation, that belief cracked, not shattered all at once. Cracks form slowly, hairline fractures you don't notice until the structure fails. What happened out there didn't roar or explode. It whispered, it reflected. It showed us ourselves and forced us to accept that the world records more than we know how to measure. At the time, I was Captain Elias Thornridge, 10th Mountain Division. Mid-30s, experienced but not jaded, confident but not reckless. I had a reputation for running clean patrols. No surprises, no unnecessary risks. That reputation mattered to me. In the military, boring is a compliment. Boring means predictable. Predictable means controllable, and controllable means survivable. The mission briefing barely registered as something worth remembering. Joint exercise with the National Guard, high-altitude navigation and land use verification. 72 hours, minimal radio contact. Self-sufficient. The goal was simple. Confirm there was no illegal activity in Sector 7 Charlie. No hidden camps. No unauthorized training groups. No drug operations tucked into terrain people assumed was too inaccessible to bother with. Sector 7 Charlie was a square on a laminated map that had been folded and unfolded so many times the creases had become permanent. The briefing room was a plywood shed with a wood stove that popped and hissed while the officer running the brief droned through weather patterns and emergency procedures. Clear skies predicted for the first 2 days. Cold front expected late on day 3. Nothing unusual. Nothing ever is at the beginning. I chose my team carefully. Sergeant Beckett Larkspur was first. He was quiet in the way experienced men often are, not withdrawn, just economical with words. He'd served multiple tours before landing with me, and he had an uncanny ability to read terrain. He could tell you how long ago someone had passed through an area just by the way pine needles lay disturbed. He carried a small notebook in which he sketched terrain from memory, perfect little topographic drawings he never volunteered to show. I asked once. He smiled like I'd caught him doing something private. Corporal Finian Kestrel handled communications. Skinny, fast-talking, always moving. His hands never seemed to rest. He could coax life out of radios that should have been dead and fix problems with duct tape, profanity and intuition. He carried a harmonica he never played. Said holding it helped him think. I didn't question it. Soldiers develop habits for reasons that don't always need explaining. Private Rowan Hawthorne was our newest, fresh from training, strong from a farm upbringing, eager in that way young soldiers are when they want to prove they belong. He asked questions. Good ones, not the kind that challenged authority, but the kind that showed he was paying attention. I've always believed green soldiers who ask questions survive longer than green soldiers who pretend they already know. We loaded up at dawn, packs heavy with rations, water, cold weather gear, medical supplies, flares, spare batteries, maps, compasses, and a civilian-grade GPS unit that was still considered new technology back then. Each of us carried a rifle with a standard load. More than we expected to need, less than we'd want if things went bad. That balance is always a gamble. The truck ride up the Forest Service road was rough. The road hadn't seen real maintenance in decades. Ruts deep enough to swallow a tire, rocks that scraped metal like fingernails on chalkboard. The driver bounced us around with the casual recklessness of someone who hadn't spent much time walking where he drove. Eventually, we reached a faded wooden sign marking the trailhead. The lettering had worn away to ghosts. The mountains rose ahead of us, tall and indifferent. The air smelled like sap and cold stone. Somewhere nearby, water ran over rocks, a sound you could hear but not see. We stepped off at 0800, single file. Larkspur on point, Kestrel behind him with the radio. Hawthorne carrying the heavy pack, we bringing up the rear. Standard formation, standard procedure. The trail climbed steadily. Elevation hit fast, starting at around 8,000 feet, moving higher with each waypoint. The air thinned, breathing took effort. Your heart worked harder for less oxygen. Your thoughts slowed just enough to remind you that the mountain didn't care how fit you thought you were. You respected that or you paid for it. Alpha Waypoint was a small clearing marked by a cairn of stacked stones. Someone had left a rusted tin can on top, old enough that it flaked when touched. We logged it, took bearings, and scanned the perimeter. Larkspur crouched near a tree and ran his fingers along the bark. "Something rubbed here," he said. "Elk, maybe, big one." Hawthorne asked how recent. 2 or 3 days, maybe hard to tell in the cold. Kestrel frowned at the radio. He was getting feedback. Not static, exactly, more like an echo. When he keyed the mic, the transmission came back delayed, faint, as if someone else was transmitting at the same time from far away. I tested it myself. Same thing. Mountains do strange things to radio waves. I'd seen it before. I told him to keep monitoring. We moved on. By midday, we reached a rocky outcrop that offered a sweeping view of the valley below. Aspen trees were turning gold. A river cut through the land like a silver thread. The sky was a deep saturated blue you only see at altitude. We took 10 minutes. I glassed the area with binoculars. Nothing unusual. No smoke. No movement. "That's when Hawthorne spoke up, sir," he said carefully. "Is there another patrol out here?" I asked why. He pointed to a ridge 2 miles away, said he thought he saw movement. I raised the binoculars and scanned the area. At first, nothing. Then Larkspur joined me, watching without optics. "There," he said quietly. "Just left of that boulder, something crossed the skyline. For a second, I saw it, a dark shape against the sky. Then it was gone. Animals don't move like that." We logged it and moved on. That decision haunts me less than you might think. Logging and moving on is what professionals do when something doesn't yet justify changing the plan. Charlie Waypoint brought us down into a valley. The terrain softened. Trees thickened. Shadows grew long as the sun dropped. Larkspur stopped again. "Boot prints," he said, fresh, military tread. Size distribution that felt uncomfortably familiar. Direction matched our route. I told myself it was another unit. Training overlap. Poor coordination. It happens more than anyone likes to admit. Then we found the camp. A small fire pit. Ash still warm. Boot prints everywhere. 4 distinct patterns. All military, all recent. Moving ahead of us. I radioed base. They told us we were the only patrol assigned to that sector. That night, under a sky crowded with stars, Larkspur told me the boot prints matched ours. Sizes, stride length, spacing. "The coincidence is too clean," he said. I didn't argue. I just didn't have anything better to offer. At 2 in the morning, Kestrel woke me. The radio was receiving something. Not a clear transmission, just voices under static. Familiar voices. Our voices, phrases we'd said earlier that day. Sleep didn't come easily after that. Morning brought frost and a GPS that insisted we were half a click off our known position. Map and compass said otherwise. I trusted the map. We climbed toward the next waypoint. That's when we saw them clearly. 4 soldiers on the opposite ridge. Same formation, same spacing, same pace. Too precise to be coincidence. Base confirmed again, no other units in the sector. From that point on, the mountains stopped pretending to play by the rules I understood. Bootprints appeared ahead of us that could not exist. Tracks ended abruptly at water. Radio transmissions replayed our words without context. Weather arrived early and violent. forcing us into a rock shelter as snow erased the world. Then came the silence, moonlight. 4 figures on the ridge, watching. They wore our gear, carried our weapons. Their faces were blurred, unfinished. When they spoke, they used our voices. When they pointed toward Echo Waypoint. This is the moment where most people expect fear to take over, panic, chaos. It didn't. What took over was clarity, a terrible, calm understanding that this wasn't random, that whatever this was, it followed a pattern. We went to Echo. There, under a cairn of stones, we found a metal case. Inside was a logbook written in my handwriting, dated that day, describing events we had not finished living yet. Page after page of names from other patrols across decades. The mountain kept records, not of sound, not of images of presence. We added our names because they were already there. We got out that matters. The official report was boring. The book stayed quiet. Over the years, more names were added. I retired. The book stayed with me. I tell you this because stories like this are not about fear, they're about awareness, about understanding that walking with intent leaves marks you may never see, but others might. If this story held you, if it made you lean forward instead of pulling away, then you already understand the truth at its center. Reality is wider than we're taught. Presence matters, and sometimes, if you walk the same path with the same purpose, the mountain will show you what it remembers. If you want more stories like this, stay with us. Subscribe. Share your experience. Someone else might be waiting to realize they're not alone. And if you ever see your own reflection walking ahead of you in a place it shouldn't be, don't panic. Stay steady. Finish the path. The record is already waiting for you.